What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends Spider-Man Kingpin Build-A-Figure wave. And in this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different from what I usually do. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the whole wave in this one video. It's not very often that I get a whole set of Marvel Legends figures all in one shot. Usually I have to pick up one or two here and there at retail, and it usually takes me a long time to put together a Build-A-Figure. But in this case, I got the whole set all at once, and it's very exciting because it's a lot of fun to open up each one of these figures and put together the Build-A-Figure right there instead of waiting until you're able to find them all. But it's really cool to get them all at once like this because, to be honest, it kind of makes it easier to digest some of the less desirable figures, because some of these figures I wouldn't have felt comfortable just buying them individually, and then I'd probably end up with a half-built Kingpin, you know. But just getting it like this, you know, I just kind of ignore the ones I don't like and enjoy the ones that I do. But let's start this off by taking a very quick look at the packaging. It's the standard Marvel Legends packaging. You have some cool artwork on the side, you have character descriptions on the back along with some shots of the figures. Okay, so we're going to take a look at these figures, starting off with the one that I like the least and building up to the one that I like the most, and then we'll look at some size comparisons. So with that in mind, let's grab the Black Cat here. And yeah, this figure just doesn't do it for me for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I'm not feeling this costume design. I think the cat eyes on the upper torso here look really goofy, and that's just a corny idea. I really don't like the way this belt thing looks. I guess it's supposed to be her whip, but like tied around her waist there. And yeah, I'm just not sure why she's dressed in all black. You know, it kind of, Black Cat usually has a lot of black and a lot of white to contrast each other, but in this case she just has black on her uniform and then, you know, the white hair with no white mixed in anywhere else. And I don't know, that just doesn't do it for me. And another thing is, I feel like this body type is just wrong for Black Cat. For the most part, I always pictured Black Cat to be more like thick and like seductive, and I don't want to sound like a creep or anything, but I really don't think that Peter Parker is going to be leaving Mary Jane anytime soon for this monstrosity here. But this one here from the Ultimate Green Goblin wave from a few years back is pretty much the perfect Black Cat to me. It's a very good figure. It's hard for it to stand because she has high heels, but other than that, it's a really nice figure. But yeah, this new one just, I don't know, it just feels like a step back. And obviously she has a lot of the same problems that most of the female Marvel Legends figures from Hasbro have, like really bad articulation. Her head is able to move around. It's got a little bit of tilt because it's on a ball joint. It could look down to about there. Can't really look up because of the hair. And then for the torso, goes side to side, has some rotation, could crunch a little bit, only to about there, moves back to there. Her arms are not very good, but they go all the way around. They could come out to the side. There's no upper bicep swivel. She has a single jointed elbow that also has a swivel. And even though it's single jointed, it still gets some decent range, a little bit more than 90. But yeah, and then for her hand, it has a swivel and then the up and down hinge. For her legs, they could come out to the side. You have the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. You have rocking ankles, and then her feet can move up and down like that. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just really not feeling this figure. And for accessories, the only thing that she comes with is this whip, and even this thing I don't like very much. She is able to hold it okay because the bottom of it's a little bit thicker, but yeah, I don't know, I don't like this thing. It kind of looks like a tentacle more so than a whip. And other than that, she does come with Kingpin's right arm and cane that he has. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not into it. This figure just, it doesn't even feel like Black Cat to me. This doesn't seem like Felicia Hardy. But I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping, and that's just how she is in the books recently. I haven't read a Spider-Man comic book in a couple years, so I'm not up on all the modern stuff. So I don't know. Maybe this fits in with her character just fine. There are a couple redeeming qualities with this figure. Not enough to make me say I like it, but there are some things I do appreciate. I do like the fact that they have sculpted details in the torso, so it kind of looks like clothes. It doesn't just look like a naked figure painted black. And other than that, I think the face sculpt is actually okay. I do like what they did with the teeth. You could actually see that the gums are a different color than the teeth, and that's kind of rare on a Marvel Legends figure. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing that I really like about this figure. And then next up, we have the 6 Arm Spiderman, and man, this thing doesn't even look like a Marvel Legends figure. It looks like almost like a Happy Meal toy or something. This thing is ridiculous, and I know a lot of people already kind of understand what's going on with the torso. They made it like this because they didn't think that they could fit the pegs in there along with the articulation, and I can accept that, but I think the thing that really ruins this figure is the lack of paint details, because that's what really makes it look like a cheap toy, you know, is the fact that there's no paint details on the torso. The colors look kind of cool, the blue and the red, but I mean, the web line should be painted in. They're all sculpted, and that's cool, but it would have been nice if it was filled in with some black paint. I think that would have looked a lot better. And also, the other thing I think this figure should have included is extra hands, and I think it would have increased the fun factor. And that's part of the only reason why he wasn't the worst in the wave to me, is because I did have a little bit of fun posing him and messing with them and trying to get him into interesting poses, but it was mostly just trying. I couldn't really get him into anything that I was happy with. And you know, if they were gonna do the torso like this, you know, fine, it's okay, but why not put like a waist joint and make it with a deep cut, kind of like the Figma Hulk? I think that would have greatly improved this figure. It would have made it so he doesn't feel so stiff and weird. And, you know, if you weren't going to do that, then throw some more hands in there. Do something to make it a little bit more fun, because I know a lot of people would have loved this figure. It's really a missed opportunity, because I think a lot of Marvel Legends collectors, I'm just guessing, but a lot of Marvel Legends collectors were probably into the animated series from the 90s, and him turning into Man Spider was a big part of that. It was a lot of fun and stuff like that, so I think this figure could have been a hit, you know, but it's just a real missed opportunity. And for the articulation, it has the standard Marvel Legends articulation. For the arms, it has the double jointed elbows, it has the upper bicep swivel, ball jointed shoulders, a hinge at the wrist and a swivel at the wrist, and it has that times 6. So that's kind of cool, and I do like the way that the ball joints are sunken into the torso, so that's cool. At least they did that rather than having them sit on the outside of the torso, kind of like we see with a lot of customs that are out there. It's very hard to get this look right, you know, because it's very hard to sink these ball joints into the torso and still maintain the articulation of the torso. So I totally get why they couldn't do it with the Pizza Spider-Man. He's way too skinny, and that makes a lot of sense. But why not try it with this body here? It's proven that it works fine for Peter Parker. It's a little bit thicker, and, you know, I think they might have been able to get away with it. Maybe just make the peg smaller or something. But again, there's probably not enough room to sink in those ball joints. So, okay, fine, I accept that too. But why not try the Spider UK body? It's bigger. And, you know, I know it's big for Peter Parker, but you could kind of excuse that with the fact that he's turning into a giant spider. So I think that justifies the size, you know. And even with this figure, he's tiny. And we'll look at that in the size comparisons. He's smaller than other Spider-Man figures. It's crazy. But yeah, I think they should have tried to use the Spider UK mold, and I really feel like they could have salvaged that torso joint. And if they couldn't, it was impossible, at least give him some detail and make him somewhat interesting. Like I said, he's a little fun to pose and play, but for the most part, he's a huge missed opportunity. And one thing that should be noted with this guy is that if you try to grab his arm and pose it from there, you're going to rip his arm right off. The peg right there seems really weak, so every time that I move his arm, I have to move it at the shoulder joint, and it's really tight. So I don't know, man, this figure, it's such a missed opportunity. This thing could have been so cool. I guess the one upside is now you have like a bunch of arms that you could possibly use as fodder. You know, you could throw them on your Elektra or whatever. You could do something. You could fix something else that Hasbro messed up. No diss, I like what Hasbro's doing, but they drop the ball sometimes, and I feel like they dropped the ball on this figure here. So next up, we have Silver Sable, and this figure, again, is somewhat of a missed opportunity. I think this figure is okay, but they could have done a lot of things on her to make it a little bit better. Like, I really wish they put some sculpted details on the uniform here to make it look like clothes rather than, you know, paint on a naked person, especially on the silver parts, so that you could see a difference, because the colors are similar and they kind of, you know, blend in together. Just on the shelf, nothing really stands out. She just looks like one color. But yeah, I do wish that they went ahead and did that. But other than that, I'll have to say that I'm not crazy mad at this figure. It suffers from all the other things that female Hasbro Marvel Legends do. But, you know, for the most part, I think I'm all right with this figure. Could have definitely been better, but I'll be okay just throwing her on my shelf with a bunch of other mercenaries like Paladin and whoever else, you know. But I do think I'm gonna glue down these pouches and the belt, because they do get annoying when you're trying to mess with her. And anything I can do to improve this figure, I'll do it. And for the accessories, she does come with the same guns that Domino came with. And Silver Sable does come with Kingpin's left arm. And another thing that's cool about her is I think her face sculpt is really good. They did a nice job with it. It might be hard to see because the lights and stuff, and it's kind of bright, and she's just light colored in general. But yeah, I think it looks cool. I think the face sculpt is all right. And other than that, there's not much going on. It has the same articulation as Black Cat, single jointed elbows, you know, no bicep swivel, a little bit of torso movement. Her legs come out to the side, head on a ball joint. Whoa, look at these fell down, that's whack. Head on a ball joint, and she also has the you know, the shooter hands that she could point down and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. I'm always into those. Same thing that was on Domino, I believe. But yeah, this figure, I mean, I'd say it's okay. I'm not going to say that I like it, but I don't dislike it as much as I dislike Black Cat or Spider-Man. She's kind of in the middle there for me. And same thing could be said about this symbiote suit Spider-Man. I mean, I don't hate it, but there's really nothing special about it. I do like the way that the spider logo looks. I like how it wraps all the way around him. One thing I dislike about it is that the paint is pretty sloppy, especially right in there. And being that it's such a simple figure, that's one thing they should have nailed. The paint should be perfect, but it's not. Still, I think it's a pretty cool costume design. I believe that he got this symbiote suit during the Red Goblin storyline. I'm not sure how long he kept it, but I think it's an interesting take on the symbiote suit, so that's kind of cool. I like the clawed feet. I think those look pretty nice. I like that the hands are more like claw type too, so he looks like he's about to go out there and, you know, slash up some bad guys. And this figure does come with a couple of accessories. He has an extra set of hands. He has a pair of fists and a pair of open hands, so that's kind of cool that they threw some stuff in there. And other than the two hands, he does come with Kingpin's heads. So that's what he has for accessories. He does have the Pizza Spider-Man body mold, and I'm okay with that for Spider-Man. I think it's a, you know, the go-to body, and it works out pretty good. I do like the thicker body a little bit better, the one that's on the Deadpool and Spider-Man 2099 and all that good stuff. But I'm always okay with the Pizza Spider-Man buck for Spider-Man. It always works. So this figure's okay. He does have a lot of nice articulation. You know, he has the swivel shoulders, ball jointed shoulders, ab crunch, double jointed elbows, head on a ball joint, all kinds of good stuff, but typical Marvel Legends articulation, so he's not really missing anything that he needs. But yeah, again, this figure's right there with Silver Sable. It's just it's okay, you know. I don't hate it or anything, but I'm not crazy about it. And next up we have the Red Goblin. This figure kind of falls into the okay to kind of cool category. And he does use the Bucky Cap body mold, which I'm okay with when it comes to these symbiote type of characters. And yeah, I think this figure's okay, actually. I like this guy. I like the way that the head looks. It has the Goblin type of head. It has the Goblin ears. He has the crazy facial expression. And let's see here. He's got like clawed hands, clawed feet that all look really nice. I like the way that the red looks. It looks like burgundy, kind of like blood almost, you know. But yeah, he's a cool looking figure. I really didn't think that I would like this figure as much as I do, because I don't really know anything about the Red Goblin. I do know who he is and stuff like that, but generally I don't like the idea of just mashing two villains together to make a new villain. But it sounds like this story was pretty cool, and it was very well received. When Hasbro showed this figure off at Comic-Con, they were very excited about it. And I remember a couple of the employees mentioning how much they liked the comic book. So that's always cool when they're excited about what they're doing, you know. And then for accessories, he comes with one of the little pumpkin bombs. And I believe this thing is like a symbiote infused pumpkin bomb that actually bites onto things and then explodes, you know. So that's kind of goofy and crazy. And then he also has this piece of symbiote that unplugs. Same thing that came with Carnage. And the Red Goblin also comes with Kingpin's right leg. He's pretty much a repaint of Carnage other than the head and this big tail. But I think that's enough to make him more interesting, you know. So I'm pretty happy with this guy. I'd put him in the I kind of like him category, so he's cool. Okay, so now we're going to get into the figures that I actually like a lot, and these three figures pretty much saved the whole experience for me, because before them, there was a couple bad ones, there was a couple okay ones, but these three are actually really solid figures, and they're a lot of fun. So let's get into it here. The first of the three is the Puma, and for some reason, I'm just really liking this figure. I can't put it down. Ever since I've opened it, I've been messing around with it. I took my dog for a walk, and I even took the figure with me. I couldn't get enough of messing with it, and I don't know anything about the character. I do remember him being around in the 90s. I always remember seeing trading cards for him and just him in random spots. So, I mean, I've always been aware of Puma, but it's not like I ever read a comic book with him in it. But I did go do some research, and I found out that he's a character based on like a Native American kind of situation. And I really like that. I've always thought that that was like an untapped area that, like, you know, people could dig into for some cool stories. And there's very few Native American like characters out there. I mean, I've always liked Warpath and Thunderbird, and then Red Wing was really cool in the Earth X comic book, and I know he's pretty cool other places too. But I didn't even know that this character was like Native American. But yeah, I think that's awesome. But let's look at the figure here. So it's a really good reuse of different kinds of parts. You have some of the Walmart Black Panther in there, or I guess it's the Spider UK torso, and then you have the Jackal arms. And then the lower legs are pretty much the Jackal feet, it looks like, and then just the legs from the that same buck, that Spider UK buck. But it all comes together really good, and that's the figure. Actually, this one really reminds me of that Walmart Black Panther because that one was really simple, but I enjoyed it. Same thing with this. You could actually get him into some really nice crouching poses, and he looks awesome, man. I like this thing a lot. And let's take a look at what we have going on here. The face sculpt looks really good. He's like yelling all crazy. And then you have the feathers on the back with some red and white paint. That looks nice. Same thing down here. You have this gold armband around his bicep. You have a belt that has a big E on it. And I love the sculpted details on the fur. I like how they're like different colors. The longer hair is like a different color than the shorter hair. That's awesome. Same thing on the lower legs, and then you have some gold bands on the top of the fur there. And I'm always down for really obscure characters, even if I'm not crazy familiar with who they are. One thing that I'd say about this that kind of is distracting is I really don't like that there isn't fur in here. It just kind of looks like clothing still. I think that's kind of weird, but I mean, I guess you could kind of get away with that and just say this whole thing is clothing or like part of his costume, but I think it would have been cool if there was fur down there. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing that I really dislike about this figure. He doesn't really come with any, he doesn't come with any accessories. The only thing that he comes with is the Kingpin torso. And, you know, they pack that in there with nothing else. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what accessories I'd want from this guy. Maybe like a head that wasn't screaming or something. I guess that would have been cool. But yeah, for the most part, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. And all the articulation works really good, but it's all standard stuff. He's got ball jointed shoulders. But the way that these arms work, you're able to get his arms out in front of him. It's pretty much the case anytime they use this torso, you could get his arms out in front of him pretty good. And you've got the legs that go out to the side. You have a nice ab crunch. You have waist swivel that's kind of hindered by the belt. And you have double jointed knees, upper bicep swivel. You have a lower leg swivel, but it's kind of hindered by this thing that they got going on here. You have upper bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows have really nice range. And look at that. They could bend like a really good amount. So pretty cool. And then he has this necklace thing here that just kind of hangs. I might glue that down because it gets a little frustrating. But yeah, I'm really digging this figure, and I don't even know why. Next up, we have Night Thrasher. And aside from Kingpin, this figure is definitely the star of the show. I think that it's a very clever reuse of parts. You have a little bit of Beetle in there, a little bit of Taskmaster, and it all just comes together really well. So let's take a look here. I love the shiny black plastic that they used up here. It really makes it feel like he's a guy wearing some kind of armor. And I just love the way this figure looks, actually. He looks so cool. And you've got the belt there that's red with a little bit of black shading. You have the bandana, which I'll probably need to glue down because this thing just kind of falls all over the place. But if you get it high enough, it'll kind of stay there. But once you start posing them, it's going to move. I mean, it's a fairly simple character design, but it comes across really good. And I like this figure a lot more than I thought I would, actually. A lot of people are excited about this Night Thrasher figure because it's kind of the start of the New Warriors. I know they did Nova already, but that original Nova kind of sucks. The Annihilation Nova Hasbro did was really cool, but I think this is probably like one of the first like official New Warriors figures they did. I believe Darkhawk was in the New Warriors too, but I don't think he was originally, along with Night Thrasher, Nova, and Speedball. I'll have to look into that. But anyways, yeah, so it's cool to see that they're starting to build this team. And for accessories, he has the skateboard that's really cool. It just clips onto the back here. And there's no peg for him to stand on. That kind of sucks. But the skateboard is done very nice. The wheels actually do roll, and you have like some screws right there. So it looks realistic, and it clips onto the backpack thing that he has. Very, very easy. Actually, that's the wrong way. There we go. And what's really cool here is like there's a bunch of scratches. Like he's been, I forget my skater terms, but I don't know if that's called grinding or what when you like, you know, ride something with the with that part of the board. Whatever. But yeah, anyways, this figure looks cool. And then he also has these billy clubs. It's the same billy clubs that we saw with Daredevil. And they're okay, but they kind of warp. And let's see here. This thing actually comes off. This is like a separate piece. And it just plugs into the back there. Very simple. And I love that he could hold all the accessories that he comes with. That's so cool. Aside from the accessories that were shown, Night Thrasher does come with Kingpin's left leg. And the articulation on Night Thrasher is all standard Marvel Legends stuff. You have a ball jointed head, so you could get his head to move all the way around. He could look down, he could look up. He's got a torso crunch, a waist swivel. He does have ball jointed shoulders, but these shoulders are kind of armored or something, so it's a little restricted compared to some other Marvel Legends ball joints. It really only goes up to right there, but it can go all the way around. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, swivel at the hand, hinge at the hand. You know, typical Marvel Legends legs. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees. One thing that's a little different than other Marvel Legends is the ankle joint, and you have a swivel side to side. It actually has like a dedicated ball joint in there, so that's pretty cool, and you get a lot of up and down movement. And other than the ankle, there's nothing really unique as far as the articulation goes, but what he does have here works perfectly fine for Night Thrasher. And I really love the head sculpt. The eyes look really cool in there, and I like the red on the head and everything. And yeah, just check him out. He's a really cool looking figure. Very, very simple, but this guy is a lot of fun to pose and play with. I do wish that there was a way that he could stand on the skateboard, but it's not a deal breaker for me or anything. You could just get some blue tack, stick him on there, and you're good to go. But yeah, man, this figure is really cool. And then last but not least, we have the Build-A-Figure Kingpin. And this thing is so nice. To me, he's a perfect version of Kingpin. The Toy Biz one to me has always been nice, but I never liked how round he is. I'll try to dig that one out in a second to compare him. But yeah, this figure is so nice. I guess the only complaint I'd have is I wish that there was a little variety in his clothing. I wish there was maybe some colors, maybe like the buttons painted a different color or something. Other than that, this figure is just incredible. I mean, he's awesome. They picked a perfect time to come out with Kingpin because he's kind of like at the height of his popularity because of the Daredevil series and stuff. But yeah, this figure is really nice. It captures Wilson Fisk perfectly, and he does have two different heads. First off, he has a regular relaxed head, and then he comes with the screaming head. And then other than that, he does come with this cane. It does look pretty nice, and it has a diamond at the end of it. It does look very cool. Yeah, let's take a closer look at Kingpin here. So his tie is purple. It has like a metallic kind of look to it. Same thing with the little handkerchief in his pocket. And then the buttons are gold coming down the center there. That looks really nice. And yeah, he looks cool. The sculpt does get broken up a little bit when you move his legs because it's just like sharp. There's like a sharp edge there, you know, and it kind of looks blocky. But for the most part, you're going to have him just standing up looking crazy, you know. And he's not very articulated, but I think there's enough for Kingpin. Which is pretty cool. On his left hand, he has a pinky ring that looks really dope. And his jacket does come off, but you're going to want to pop out one of his arms in order to get that off. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling with it. But I think that looks kind of cool, and that's a nice option. Maybe if you want to take his jacket off and have him fight Daredevil or something. But it kind of looks weird. It kind of gets thin towards his upper torso there. But I guess, I mean, no, I guess it's fine, you know. But yeah, I think that's cool that you have that option. And here's the Kingpin along with his Toy Biz counterpart, and man, it's not even close at all. This new one blows the old one out of the water. And yeah, this one hasn't aged well, but to be honest, I didn't really like it when I first got it. I don't know, it just never seemed right to me. He just kind of looks like a big, you know, like a big chubby dude. He doesn't look like a big, strong, solid, you know, force of nature like this Kingpin does. He just kind of just looks like a big ball or something. I don't know. I just was never really into this guy, so I'm very happy to have this new one. Just for fun, I threw the Marvel Legends Thing head onto the Kingpin Build-A-Figure body, and I think that looks really cool. And it made me think, like, how cool would it be to see a story, like a what-if story or something, where the Thing became the Kingpin? He would have probably dominated. It would have been dope. But yeah, I think this looks really cool, and it made me think, like, there's so many different options that we could do with this body. I would love to get a Mr. Fix-It on this body. That would be so amazing. I didn't have any good gray Hulk head sculpts laying around to try to any like head swaps or anything. But man, that would be so cool. And then of course we have the Shadow King head coming out with the Xavier pretty soon. So that's all going to be really cool. But there's a lot of possibilities with this big, huge body in a suit. You wouldn't really think that, but you know, they could definitely get creative and give us some really cool stuff. And so let's go over the articulation on Kingpin. His head is able to move side to side. It is on a ball joint. He can look up to there. He can look down to about there. There isn't really any tilt to it because his head is kind of big. And for his torso, he does have like a mid-torso joint, but it really does not get much movement. You could get it crunching forward to about there. You got to kind of wrestle with it a little bit, but you could get it forward to about there. It's not very much. Get it going back to... You really can't get it going back at all because the jacket stops it. Even if the torso joint had movement, it would just kind of get pushed forward because of the jacket. But you do have a side-to-side swivel there, so that's cool. Then his arms can go all the way around. They could come out to the side. He has a single jointed elbow for his big, huge arm, but he also has a swivel at the elbow. His wrist can swivel and hinge. His legs could come out to about right there. Take a kick forward to about right there. Go back to there. He has a single jointed knee. Doesn't get very much movement at all. There we go. That's about it right there. And his feet kind of have a rocker, but it's hindered by his pants. And they really don't move up and down too much either because of his pant leg. So yeah, articulation is very, very limited, but that was to be expected with this huge figure. And obviously you don't need that much articulation for the Kingpin because, I mean, you know, he's a brawler and he'll fight and stuff like that, but all you really need to do is get him into some punching poses, and you could do that with this figure. And other than that, you're just going to have him standing there being crazy. So I think the articulation's okay on this guy. So now for some size comparisons, because there's so many figures to cover, we're just going to go all over the place with it, starting off with the Puma and Night Thrasher, along with the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And for some new Warriors action, here we have Night Thrasher along with Nova and Darkhawk. And then here we have Silver Sable and Night Thrasher along with Paladin and Moon Knight. And here we have Puma and the new Black Cat along with the Felicia Hardy from the Ultimate Green Goblin wave and Pizza Spider-Man. Now here we have the Red Goblin alongside the Marvel Legends Carnage, Marvel Legends Green Goblin, and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man once again. Now here's the Red Goblin and the new symbiote suit Spider-Man with Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Agent Venom. And I really wish that they would revisit Agent Venom because he's a really cool character. I'd also like to see them do Agent Anti-Venom. I think that would be awesome. But more so than Marvel Legends, I'd like to see someone like Mafex tackle him. That would be, oh man, that'd be crazy. But yeah. And now here we have the 6-Arm Spider-Man along with Spider UK, the Gameverse Spider-Man, and the Pizza Spider-Man. And this 6-Arm Spider-Man just, it's embarrassing putting him next to these other figures, man. He looks so bad. Next up, we have Kingpin along with the Sasquatch Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure. And here's Mr. Fisk next to the Marvel Select Disney Store exclusive Thanos. Now here's the Kingpin next to the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Bullseye and the Hasbro Marvel Legends Daredevil. And I really need to get the Hasbro Marvel Legends Bullseye because that figure's awesome, but the Toy Biz one just still holds up, so I haven't been driven to pick that other one up. And I guess you could almost say that Kingpin's a little bit too big, but it kind of reminds me of how massive he was in the animated series. Obviously, he's just a normal human, so he can only be so big, but, you know, in the cartoon, he looked huge. In the comics, he looks more, back in the 80s with in the Daredevil comics, he looked more like stocky. I'd say he's a little bit shorter. He was almost, I mean, he didn't tower over Daredevil. He was bigger than him, but he wasn't like a giant next to him. So, you know, I don't know. You could kind of fudge it when it comes to the size of Kingpin because he's always different. And now here we have Kingpin with the Mezco 112 Collective Daredevil and the Mezco 112 Collective Punisher. And then next up we have the Kingpin hanging out with the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing, aka Benjamin Grimm, aka The Thing. Before I get into my final thoughts, I just wanted to do a quick recap. So here it is. First off, Black Cat sucks. 6-Arm Spider-Man sucks. Symbiote suit Spider-Man's okay, could have been better. Silver Sable's okay, could have been a little bit better. Red Goblin is pretty cool, he's okay to good. And Night Thrasher, I love it. Puma, I love it. The Build-A-Figure Kingpin, I love it. So, by my count, we have 2 really bad figures, 3 okay figures, and then 3 really good figures, in my opinion. And I really don't think that that's bad. Of course, we'd want, like, all good figures, but I really don't think this wave is as bad as some people are saying. People are really knocking this wave, and I really disagree with all that. Of course, the 3 figures over here, I do wish that they were all a little bit better. Red Goblin, I think's okay. I don't know what they could have done to make him better. I'm just not that interested in him. But these 2 figures could have been done a little bit better. These 2 are garbage and probably should have just been left out of the wave. If they couldn't do the 6-Arm Spider-Man in a way that's cool, then they should have not have put him in here because he's not Marvel Legends quality. He does have a slight fun factor because of all those arms, but they should have left it out, put it in one of the other like kids lines maybe or something like that. Because if he was at a different standard, like if he was in one of the random like, you know, Spider-Verse lines or something, or, you know, if he was just in there, I bet you Marvel Legends would have picked it up just to have all those arms. But you throw him in a Marvel Legends box and there's kind of a standard, and this figure doesn't meet that standard. So they should have left him out. That's how I feel. And for Black Cat, I mean, I don't know, maybe people will like it because they like the suit more than I do, but for me, I just think that suit is trash, and as a result, I'm just not into the figure. But you know, for other people, that could be different. Silver Sable could have been done a lot better. She's kind of a missed opportunity, but I'm okay with just having her on my shelf. Same thing with Black Suit Spider-Man. He's gonna hang out there. Same thing with Red Goblin. These two are going in a bin. These three I'm gonna be messing with all the time. Kingpin is a big, massive, awesome Build-A-Figure, and I'm sure he's going to be up there as one of the best Build-A-Figures of the year, depending on what else we see this year. I know that we got Caliban coming out, and he looks awesome, and I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of other stuff later in the year, so it's kind of early to be talking about, you know, best Build-A-Figure of the year, but Kingpin is a much-needed update from the Toy Biz version, so I'm super happy to have him, and like I said, it's a perfect time to have a Kingpin figure out because, you know, the Netflix show, so this Kingpin figure is really dope. And I think I'm happy with this wave, to be honest with you, but I don't know how strongly I'd suggest to go out and buy it. Definitely don't pay over retail, but I think if you were to find them in the stores on the pegs and you know, you buy them for retail, you're probably going to be pretty happy with this. And more so if you wait a little bit and they pop up on Amazon for a little bit cheaper, then of course, you know, it's going to be a pretty enjoyable wave, but people will be disappointed in this guy right here for sure. I really don't think that people are going to be into him. But anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this longer video. I really hope you enjoyed this long form look at all these Marvel Legends figures. Let me know if this is something I should do more often, and if people enjoy it, I definitely will, because this was a lot of fun and it was different than usual, so I'm always up for that. And huge thank you to Toy News International for sending this set out to me to review, and be sure to check out marvelousnews.com to see a bunch of pictures of all these guys. So thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and that's it. Peace.